Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Friday, October 25th, 2024, as we hone in on Halloween, the universal holiday for everybody, and to talk about those things called UFOs, my friend. Welcome to Disclosure Tonight. It's great to have everybody back here again. Yeah, I was out again, sick, not feeling good, hospital tests, all that kind of stuff. Good news is, like I've been hearing since I was a kid, I'm abnormal but inconclusive. So, hey, I'm abnormal. How about that? On that note, it's time to go ahead and welcome in our audience. Where are they at? Wow. A little too loud, but on that note, let's go ahead and figure out who in the heck we have in our audience. Let me bring up that list and welcome everybody. Good to see you here tonight, my friends. All right, let's go ahead and take a look and see who we have out there. Well, we've got Andrew Davies, Anonymous Rex, Timmy is here, Kuriti Banis, Eli McGinnis, Aubrey McLeod just popped in, Elmer Whitaker, Jan, J-Cat, Kathy, Kelly Broughton, those piercing blue eyes. I saw you here earlier, Kathy. So, hey, Kelly. Kathy's here too. Metal Gaming's here. Peggy and Steve, your Miami friends, are here as well. Robert Vargas, Shelly Montgomery is in the chat, and she's in the back. Can't wait to hear what Shelly has up for us tonight. Stargazer 24. Actually, Stargazer 46 and 2 is here, along with Metal Gaming. Reality Check VIP just popped up in the chat, and Two Heads 666. And Stephen Forbes Jr. just popped in as well. Everyone's popping in for the show tonight. How about that? Well, it's enough of welcoming in our audience. It's a time, friends, to go ahead and welcome our friends we have in the back chat. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Who in the hell is out there? Well, our first friend popping up today is coming from, well, the upper Midwest, one of the battleground states. Let's welcome in Hollywood Harold. How's it going, Harold?
It's going exceptionally well if you take into account, man, that war just broke out in the Middle East. And
oh, yeah, right. Did you sign up for the potential $1 million that you could get from signing up for an election from Elon Musk? You are in a battleground state, my friend.
I don't even mess with politics, man.
Oh, but still put your name in the bucket. $1 million is $1 million. You're giving away $1 million a day until the election. It's worth a try, Harold. You'd never know. You might win. And if you do, I'll gladly take half of it.
Well, I think I do a better job than some of those clowns would.
Oh, there you go. Thanks for coming in today, Harold. Well, if I turn our world back onto the world of remote viewing, let's go ahead and welcome in our remote viewing targeter, Laura Campbell. How's it going, Laura?
It's going great, Thomas. My gosh, we have a lot to talk about tonight, including, hopefully, if we have time, talk a little bit about the Trump-Rogan interview, which is related to remote viewing incident. I have some details on that.
Oh, nice. Now, I do have to tell you, Laura, right before the last election, it was the day of the election, before we heard any results, stuff was coming in, I asked my higher self, which I usually don't, because usually the information flows in, but I asked a question: is he going to win? And my answer I got 4 years ago was next time. So I am going to go with the prediction I got 4 years ago that he will skunk this one, my friend. But we'll definitely bring up some time to go ahead and talk about the information our remote viewing community has found.
Good. Sounds good.
Excellent. Well, he just popped in. He might be fumbling with his camera, but I'm going to call him anyway. Our dear friend Andy W's here. Welcome, Andy. How are things going in the UK?
Hey, Thomas, you just caught me as I rushed in again. Cool. Yeah, it's going well. How's it for you?
I see, so. Could be better, could be worse. But you know what? I'm here with friends and family. It feels like, better than family, it's friends. It's the people I get to choose to be with, not the people that I have to be with.
Yeah, and it's good to see you back anyway.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Not quite 100% yet, but we'll get there eventually. It's those last few percentage points that take forever. Thank you for coming in, Andy. Let's turn our sights on their next person coming from the place you ought to be called in Southern California. Let's welcome in our very dear friend Faiswell, who just sent in $20 in a super chat. Thanks for coming in, Will. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. Good to be here. Good to see you, and good to see my Disclosure and the crew backstage. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for that super chat, as usual, my friend. I am so humbled and thankful, honestly.
Thank you.
Remember, folks, every dollar that comes into Disclosure tonight's Super Chats goes back into our production fund. And I am so humble and thankful for everybody for your love and support of everything we do here on Disclosure tonight. Oh, my God. What's wrong with my... Oh, God, my frame rate is horrible. I thought it was horrible, and it is horrible. Let's see me close that down, close that down, close that down, close that down. All right. Am I going to get back? There we go. Oh. Let's move on. Oh, let's turn that back on again. And let's see who we have here next. Rick Roberts, how you doing, my friend? Long time no see.
Oh, I'm doing great. Just doing my overtime right now. So I'm coming to join you guys.
Oh, thanks for being here, my friend. Well, someone who hasn't been here in a while, the one, the only, Shelly Montgomery. How's it going, Shelly?
Oh, Thomas, it's going good. Glad to have you back.
Thank you, my dear lady. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have you here as well.
Thanks.
Thank you for, a little here and there. When I'm not feeling the greatest, I've learned. Take the time, because sometimes you need it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Shelly. And let's turn our sights on the East Coast. One of the two people on the East Coast. Let's go ahead and welcome in our very own Tia Loreno. How's it going, Tia?
Good, Thomas. Excited for the show. How's it going? How do you feel?
Could be better, could be worse, but holding up there pretty well. Thank you very much for asking.
Always. Excited for the show.
Absolutely. And turning our sights off and focusing on one of the important people to be here. Mike, Disclosure. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going very well, Thomas. I know we're going to have one hell of a Friday night show for our audience tonight. Looking
you
forward
think
to
so?
it. Oh, I know so. You and I have been working very hard, and it's starting to pay off.
Oh, yeah, it does, my friend. I've got that there. I've got this one. No, that's not. I'm trying to find, I've got another window here. Something is causing my frame rate to go around, away. Hopefully it still works. All right, let's move on. Yes, Mike, it's been an interesting week. Nonetheless, we've got a couple stories to go ahead and cover here today. Do you mind if we cover something easy up front? We had Lou Elizondo appeared on X yesterday.
Yes, by all means, please. Let's cover that story. It's a good one.
Oh, you better believe. Why am I having encoding issues tonight? OBS is being... After some little hiccups in the video quality today, well, it usually looks pretty good here, but I have no idea what's going on, but we'll deal with it as time moves on. On that note, folks, yes, we have a video of Lou Elizondo. He was on X yesterday. He was there for a good almost an hour on X Space, and we have the ability to go ahead and share that with you today. If you haven't caught it, well, then go ahead. Let's have some fun. We're going to stop here and there and talk about it as we go through, because there's a lot of good questions, a lot of the same stuff we heard in the past. But you know what? It's always worth to listen to what Lou has to say and to move on to it. And it's a little easy on me as well. So on that note, let's go ahead and find video full guest. Let's go ahead. Oh, that's not it. Video full. Is that it? No, that's not it. Where is it at? No, I thought I had this set up right before I started this thing. Where is it at? Full guest. Oh, well, I'll set it up one more time. Give me a second here, folks. Move that down there. Move that down there. Okay, we got to show off that stylish chest and shirt. Let's go ahead and bring this up a little bit more right here. Move this here. All right, let's go ahead and watch this great interview of Lou Elizondo getting asked a lot of questions from people on X. All right, folks, let's move on. Here we go. Let's start off with this. Happens when you have a dog hair on a laser mouse. Here we go, folks.
Doing great, Mark. Thank you. Real quick, a big thank you to not only you, Mark Kovich, but also another dear friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Ollie Rowland, who's been very helpful in helping me navigate some of this. Most people know I'm not very technically proficient, so thank the Lord for you and Ollie. And then finally, but certainly not least, and most importantly, a big thank you to every single person out there right now who's tuning in and wants to ask me some questions. So here is your opportunity. There'll be many more like this. So don't worry, for whatever reason, either you're too shy or you don't get your question answered. We plan to do these now certainly more routinely.
All right. Well, if you are ready for it, Lou, I'm going to fire away with the first question. You feeling good?
Hold on a second. Let me stretch out here. I know it's
get those vocal warm-ups in.
I'm getting my matrix moves ready in case I get some some tricky questions. But yeah, I am ready. And by the way, one more time, just thank you to everybody tuning in. It really means a lot. Yes, I actually take the time to scroll to see who's there. To some of those folks that have been good supporters of mine and followers, thank you. I see you, and really happy that you could join us. So thank you so much.
All right, here we go. I'm going to fire off with the first question as I try my best to moderate this. So this first one comes from someone called Kilo Golf. And Kilo Golf was here in the waiting room very early. He says, Lou, what's the most surprising detail you've learned about UAP?
Ooh, great question. You know what? It's not so much about the UAP itself. It's the fact that this has been kind of the worst kept secret, certainly here in the US for decades. And we're only now at a point where we can actually have the conversation without the stigma and taboo. You would think that on a topic like this about science, that we could have an open scientific conversation. But the mere mention up until recently of the word UFO sent people running. You know, it was really tough conversation to have because people thought of tinfoil hats and, you know, again, Elvis on the mothership. In reality, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a very real phenomenon, a very real thing that is here, that is being intelligently controlled. The U.S. government has known about it for a very long time, and ironically enough, was stifling conversation and creating this stigma and taboo. All along, they were actually conducting investigations into the topic, right? So how ironic is that? We spent so much time trying to make the topic silly, and in reality, we're spending taxpayer money for decades trying to figure this out. I think that to me is the most surprising. It's really not so.
Well, let's just be honest. We've been illegally spending taxpayer money for a very long time.
Much about the UAP topic, more about the human behavior and attitude towards the UAP topic, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. The next one, as I try and quickfire these, I just can't believe the amount of questions. So, Lou, try your best. You've got a ton coming your way. The name of this user is brilliant, so 10 points for that. This is from King Milkfart, and they say, how do you feel about a supposed impending event that is coming? Do you feel anxious, happy, excited? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, great question. Almost a trick question. Very, very clever. Very, very well worded. There's been a lot of talk about something happening. I am
2027, 2034, 2036, but something big.
Aware through certain channels of that same discussion. It may not necessarily be the exact dates that people are thinking right now. And quite frankly, we're not really quite sure what to think of it. Right now, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors going around. There is some discussion behind closed doors about maybe something occurring. But let me preface here. Before people start running to the hills and say, oh my God, Lou just said that something's going to happen. Well, of course, something's going to happen. Something always happens, right? I wake up every morning and there's something going on. Let me back out of that question just a little and maybe answer it a little bit more broadly. I think with everything, any type of event, there's always going to be a little bit of fear from people. It's natural. It's a human reaction to the unknown. But let's keep in mind that also with that comes a lot of opportunity, right? The first time we ever flew a plane probably was pretty scary for the Wright brothers. I imagine, hey, this thing actually going to fly? Right. And the same thing holds true when the first person like Chuck Yeager, broke the sound barrier. Yeah, it's scary. Life can be scary, but it can also be full of opportunities. And if we don't take these chances and we live our lives in a tiny little test tube or petri dish, then we're never really going to experience, life as it should be experienced. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. But with everything, the real big issue is how we deal with new information. Most things in life that happen that we're scared of doesn't really care about the human calculation. They don't care about how we interpret things. Things just happen, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane or a rainbow, for example. It's how we interpret that information that I think at the end of the day is going to allow us to seize upon new opportunities as they present themselves. I know I'm talking really kind of obliquely here because I'm being very careful not to I don't want to provide information that I don't know 110%. So I'm being a little bit vague on purpose.
It's always tough, isn't it, Lou, to give everyone everything they want all at once, right? So it's
a great question, right? I mean, I'd want to know too. Look, there's been rumors going around that something's going to happen here, whether it's 2027 or 2036 or fill in the date. As it relates to UAP, I think we need a little more time to see if there's some validity behind this. And then let our government officials do what they do best and try to work together to figure this out.
In other words, cover it up. That's what our government seems to do best, eh, Mike? Oh yeah, Thomas, absolutely.
Well, cover up in corruption, Thomas. They're very good at that. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And whatever's coming potentially, we do have that thing called the James Webb Space Telescope. So if something was coming our way, they could actually turn that telescope and actually look at it, couldn't they, Mike?
Oh, they could stare right down at the barrel of it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the Bernardelli Bernstein quote unquote comets the size of a small planet coming to our solar system.
Yep.
Not an asteroid, it's something much bigger than that. And they still aren't telling us exactly what it is. Time will tell, my friends.
Oh, you mean it's not a Muamua?
No, it's not, Mike. Here we go.
Actively for all of us, right?
Sounds good. We are surpassing 750 people odd already. I know thousands of people have already come through this space, so something's clearly kicking off a bit online. Just a quick check-in. If you are tuning in, you want to ask your questions, take this link, share it on social media.
This already
Let's
happened,
get this stream
so,
pumping. Let's get it far and wide. Here is a question for you, Lou. Real
quick, hold on, Mark, if I may. So for new people coming in, this is a new change of scenery for a lot of folks. They don't realize, they usually see me in my man cave downstairs, my office with all the, paraphernalia back there of military and whatnot. This is actually my wife's office. So if you see the little horned cow behind us, that's kind of like her theme up here. We live in Wyoming, obviously. So that's why you see this background. I'm not in a studio. I'm actually in my wife's office. And yes, I'm wearing one of my little Wyoming hats as kind of homage. So, I usually wear a baseball cap and people get tired of me wearing the baseball cap. I'm like, either wear something else or let your hair out. And unfortunately, I don't have much hair, right? So I decided to go with this today.
Rocking it. I love the hat. Suits you. I'm loving the shirt as well. And you got some serious animal power going on just at the top of your head from this angle. It's good. You need it for these questions. They're coming in thick and fast. So the next one, this is a really great question from someone tuning in at 2Red. It goes, what question is there that you would like to answer but haven't been asked yet?
Oh, that's a good question.
Wow. Well, first of all, everybody has done a really good job asking me the hard questions. Maybe it's kind of a double-edged sword because I'd say maybe ask me something personal, but then again, I always kind of cringe when somebody asks me something personal because I'm a very private person. So it's a bit of a contradiction. I don't know. I think no questions off the table. I like the fact that people feel that they can ask me anything they really want, and we'll have a discussion as long as it's respectful. We can have a conversation about it. As far as questions that haven't been asked, I don't know, maybe a little bit about my kids or my why I think the way I think. Obviously, some of it was from my upbringing, my experiences, both working for the government and in the military, and then just life as a citizen. Um, I don't know, maybe what my sign is, right? I'm a Gemini. I like long walks on the beach, pina coladas. Um, yeah, I don't know. Good question.
No, I hear it's actually margaritas, not pina coladas.
I have to think about that. Let me get back to you on that.
It is a really good question too, Red. I think that is one of the questions that is infallible in any interview situation.
Now, if it goes for the person whose office is sitting in, that would be mimosas. Just saying. That's not confidential. I can say that. I can say that. Can I, Mike?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer likes mimosas. Champagne and orange juice. Nummy, nummy.
Exactly.
The next shout out I want to give is to Christopher Mantell. And Christopher doesn't have a question for you right now because he says, I'm meeting you in Philadelphia, so I'm having to save my question for you there. And that's really cool, Chris. So a shout out to you because I know that not everybody is aware that Lou is jumping on the road. I know most of you tuning in will have seen this already, but if you haven't heard, this is going to be one of the first times that Lou brings a big, open, transparent conversation directly to you on the road all around the country and hopefully internationally. So, Christopher Mantell, a big shout out to you for jumping out the road. Lou, we'll see you in Philadelphia. The next question is grouped for quite a few people. So this question is representative of many who have asked, what is a USO and what can you tell us about them?
Yeah, great question. So USOs stand for unidentified submersible objects, right? So think of the old vernacular of UFO, unidentified flying objects. Well, these are UFOs that have been spotted underwater or coming out of the water or going into the water. Remember, this is part of the greater what ATIP when we had the 5 observables, the multi-medium or transmedium travel. The ability for a technology, for a craft to operate in multiple domains or multiple environments. In this particular case, not just the atmosphere and air that we see, and we see these things, but also even underwater and even in low Earth orbit, right? So in this particular case, USOs, the Navy has had a long-standing concern about USOs. I'll share with you a conversation I had with a boomer class commander for one of the big subs, the big boomer subs. This was several years ago, and I asked him, I said, look, we had these UAP issues. I was told that you may have had an encounter underwater. He goes, yeah. And it's called, so the Air Force has something called the Fast Walker program that looks for UFOs. The Navy had something called the Fast Mover program where they were looking at these things underwater. And believe it or not, he was totally candid with me. And I feel a little silly now, but I'll share the story with you very quickly because I know we got to move on. He told me that they were tracking this thing that was traveling at over 400 miles an hour under the water. And he described to me that this thing was bigger than their submarine. Now, how big is a boomer class submarine? Well, think of a skyscraper sitting sideways underwater. These are enormous. They're some of the largest ships we have. We don't know that because they're underwater most of the time, but these are enormous, enormous ships. And I asked him without even really thinking about it. I said, well, Captain, what do you do when you come across something like that? And he said, totally flat-faced, totally serious. He says, Lou, we go around. That's kind of thought to myself, yeah, that makes sense. But the USO issue has been an issue for a while. It's not just our government; other governments are aware of it, and it's a fascinating part of the phenomenon, is what it is. And so that's what USO stands for: unidentified, submersible, or submersed or submerged object.
Well, the next question comes from another person who wins 10 points for X handles. This is from RSAP Rocky. And the question is, Lou, with your background in parasitology, was there any evidence found regarding parasites and the phenomenon such as fungus or cellular automata affecting humans, if I've pronounced that right?
Wow. Well, that's a whole hour conversation in itself. Look, there is, for the rest of the audience out there, with my experience in microbiology, I'll share with you, there are indeed certain species of fungus that have the ability to not only find a host that's in an animal kingdom, but actually control them. In fact, there is a fungus that grows on the back of ants. I think they call it the zombie fungus. And then there's another one, a microorganism that will grow on a crab. And really, it infiltrates into the nervous system and into the brains of these animals and begins to actually take over the animal's biological functions. And I mean, it's pretty terrifying, right, to think about. But it's true. These fungus and microorganisms actually exist, and it is a parasitic relationship. Now, the question is how it relates to UAP or UFOs. We haven't seen any evidence yet, and I say yet, that suggests that somehow UAP and the biological specimens on UAP have the ability to control a biological host. Great question, though, and honestly, something I've never really considered to specifically go down that rabbit hole. In fact, if it's okay with the person providing the question, I'll probably take that question back to some of our science friends that are still working the UAP topic and propose that, because it's a wonderful question. But I haven't seen any information myself that substantiates that is the case right now. That might change, but best of my knowledge, I haven't seen that.
It's
really quickly and easily. This is a pre-recorded X Space that Lou was on yesterday. We have permission to go ahead and show it. So I know it was just asked by Christopher Height. Wanted to know. There's your answer, my friend.
Good question. And as I quick fire onto the next one, this comes from Jim Russell 77. He asks, "Hey Lou, firstly, thanks for all you've done for Disclosure. I really enjoyed your book. And as a streamer who covers these topics too, I'm curious. What do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of UFO phenomena in mainstream conversations?"
Holy smokes, man. These are great questions. Wow. I haven't been asked this question either. Misunderstood. I think the fact that we have created a false narrative. And part of it was Hollywood's fault. Part of it was our own government's fault for creating this additional stigma and taboo. I think the biggest misconception is the stereotype.
Wait a minute. Mike, did he just blame Hollywood for the stigma?
Yes, he did.
Wait a minute. Hollywood has nothing to do with the stigma. The stigma came from the federal government itself.
Yes, but I think he might be implying that the science fiction movies and the television shows help to add fear into the public. Stigma. Just my guess.
Well, the stigma is different from fear. Stigma is we're going to make fun of you for talking about it. If anything, television has promoted it and made it mainstream. It's part of pop culture now, isn't it?
Yeah, but pop culture in the sense that it's not real. And the stigma is attached to people who claim that it is.
Well, how many times is it things that we've seen in science fiction that actually become real? Time after time and time again.
Oh, just watch Star Trek and you'll see back then
Bingo.
What we use household today. Yeah, you're right, Thomas.
Exactly. So I just had to go ahead and bring that up and say, no, Hollywood is the one who's made people want to learn more. Hollywood are the ones who have taken it. Yeah, there's a lot of stories that's been going on, but it's not like the aliens are coming down and eating our cats and dogs, are they? At least the ones from outer space. Silence. I think we lost Mike there.
Type that we have kind of imposed upon ourselves, right? These are little gray aliens that are here to kind of cause mischief and havoc and kind of create mystery and keep us guessing. I think it's far more sophisticated than that. I don't think that we're dealing with something that people often just describe these things as almost like childlike. I think we're dealing with something that we are fundamentally not used to dealing with.
Like fungi was reported this week, new scientific discovery saying the mycelium network that connects all the different fungi and everything, and what the fungi come from, Actually, it's actually has patterns of signals going through it that's representative of like what we see in human brains. Just saying. There's a lot of stuff that's around us that we don't understand.
I think the stereotypes have really hurt over time the honest study of UAP. I think, the moment you say UFO or UAP, people automatically think of little green men in tinfoil hats, and that's something that we've done ourselves. We've imposed that. Now, not to suggest that the gray aliens or anything like that aren't real, but really what I try to do is focus on the NHI aspect, non-human intelligence, whatever that looks like. It is natural for us as a species to always try to identify with something with anthropomorphic characteristics, meaning a little human with 5 fingers and 2 eyes and a nose. And that may very well be the case, but that would suggest then some sort of common linkage, evolutionary speaking, with humans and primates even, right? So is there a missing link? Or are we dealing with something fundamentally completely different like artificial intelligence? And so I think the greatest challenge we have right now is really ourselves. The fact that we have this preconceived notion or narrative of what we think an alien or NHI should look like and should behave and what their intentions are. Let's not forget that intentions are primarily a human thing, not to be confused with motivation. When a great white shark eats a surfer, its motivation is hunger, but it's not intending to hurt the surfer and cause pain and anguish. Intent tends to be a uniquely human thing. It's something that we and greater primates share. We do things to manipulate, not necessarily in a bad way, manipulate even for good reasons. But that seems to be a distinctly human thing, and some of the primates share that as well. But most animals in nature don't have that, so we have to kind of avoid looking at things through human eye.
Bingo! It's not good. It's not evil. It's just, it is what it is. It doesn't love. It doesn't hate. These are all human things, and you have to take all of those things, just adding on to what Lou's saying, and you have to put them aside and not go ahead and think the aliens, because they are so alien to us, they're not freaking human, and they're not going to act like things from this planet. Let's just be, well, maybe they've been involved with things from this planet, and then they could, but still. Human emotions, human thought paradigms, all that stuff. Shut off.
Even though that's the only way we have to look at things, because we are human, we have to try to avoid that as much as possible and really remain open-minded, in my opinion.
In a way, it kind of bleeds on to another question from Maya Benowitz, and this is at Cosmic Vibration. Dr. Lakatsky has said human capabilities haven't been fully revealed, and to quote-unquote read between the lines. Grush has said spacecraft probably isn't the right parlance, that they could be interdimensional or phase in. The question is, do UAP originate from another Earth in our future, maybe?
Wow. Well, I've always told people when they ask me, are they from outer space? I've always responded truthfully. I say it could be from outer space, inner space, or frankly, the space in between. We're learning every day, even the very notion of space, what it means. Space is nonsensical without matter, without mass. Otherwise, it's just a void, and there is no telling how big something is or how small something is, because there's nothing to relate to. So, are these things from outer space, the cosmos? It's certainly possible. But is it also something that could be as natural to Earth as we are? Look, I often say this, and I'm going to spend a little more time answering this because I think it's important. When I was in school for microbiology and immunology, we learned that there were the Greeks. If you look at Homo sapiens sapien as a modern species, roughly 200,000 to 400,000 years, it was only 2,000 years ago that modern humans realized there were 2 fundamental life forms on this planet. You were either a plant or you were an animal. And if you look at a 24-hour clock, probably about 10 minutes before the stroke of midnight, we just figured that out. And so it wasn't until the Renaissance where we realized all along there was another life form hidden on this planet with us that was neither a plant or animal, and it was a fungus, right? And so we kind of pat ourselves on the shoulder, clever little monkeys. And it wasn't, and for the last 5 seconds of our existence, the last 120 years of our existence, that we actually discovered the true dominant life form on this planet. And it turns out if you were to take all the biomass of every plant and all the biomass of every animal, all the biomass of every fungus, and add it all together, it still doesn't add up to the biomass of the true alpha life form on this planet that's been here all along. And it wasn't until we had the technology to curve glass and put it into a metal tube and famously shout the words, little beasties, did we realize, and that's the world of microorganisms, that are inside every human being, and they're on the skin of the space station and miles beneath the Arctic ice. That is the true life form on this planet, alpha life form on this planet. So we're always learning something new. Is it possible that these UAP are just as natural to Earth as we are, and we're now at the point where technologically we begin to collect information and can interact with it? Or are these things something interdimensional? Now, people say, well, interdimensional, that's kind of kooky, but it's not. If you understand, so we're all used to Newtonian physics. That's what we learn in elementary school, and force equals mass times acceleration, and what gravity is at 9.8 meters per second. It was Einstein that came in and said, look, actually the universe is far more complicated and space-time is flexible and it's like a sponge. And quantum mechanics comes out and says, look, believe it or not, you can be at two places at once. All the rules you've been told and with Newtonian physics kind of break down when you talk about quantum mechanics and quantum entanglement. And there they have shown there are different dimensions at the very, very small scale of reality. Is it possible these things are interdimensional? It's possible. I mean, most of life lies beyond.
And remember, all of quantum theory and such, Mike, hasn't that come since Roswell? I could be wrong, but I believe so, right?
Quantum theory? No, they were studying that back in Einstein's time. Max Planck, Heisenberg. No, it goes before
Thank
47.
You, sir. I tried.
You're welcome. No, I got it.
And our ability to perceive it, right? We look at this life through a very narrow electromagnetic part of the spectrum called electro-optical spectrum, and visible light is only 0.0035% of the entire spectrum. Well, hell, most of reality lies beyond that anyways, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot more we could talk about, but that would be my response. Bottom line is, yes, it could be interdimensional, could be from outer space, inner space, could be from under the oceans, could be all the above. Or nothing.
I can imagine that sometimes it's tempting to want to go and speak for an entire hour on just one of these questions. I want to shout out to everyone joining this Twitter space right now. These questions are incredible as I try my best to moderate this. There are so many good questions. I'm never going to get to them, but I have a really great one coming up next.
So
for those who are
questions, if you put them in the chat, it's not going to get to this
people,
podcast.
Which is really crazy. Like, keep sharing the link. Keep doing your thing. If you know people who want to join this conversation about disclosure, people who want transparency.
If you're having a good time, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not having a good time, give us a thumbs down. We'll take one or the other. Most importantly, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you back as a regular here on Disclosure tonight. Let's continue on.
People who want to have a dialogue about this, now is a great time to share those links and bring people into this space. And if you haven't already, check out LouElizondo-official.com. If you want to find out about these newly released dates where Lou is going in person to speak and have these conferences with you in a live audience around the world, now is the time to go and check that out. Now,
and I believe Brian Pemble from the show and Faye as well is going to be going to one of them in New Mexico, I believe.
They are. You're right.
Yeah.
And we could let the audience know that when Lou is done with his road tour and in-person visits, he's going to be here live on the show. So if you have any questions, save it for then, and you'll be able to ask him directly.
Yeah. There we go.
Look, here is a question from Indy Riggs. I love this question. So when reflecting on the phenomenon as a whole, do you see any aspects of it that seem to connect to what happens when we die or connects to consciousness? I feel the question, are we alone and what happens when we die, are somehow intrinsically connected. What's your opinion?
Wow. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's an hour to have that conversation. That's a great, insightful question. I can't talk about what happens when we die because I haven't died yet. A couple times got close, but I haven't. But I can talk a little bit about consciousness. And I don't mean consciousness in the way that, you know, people sit in the lotus position and they go into meditation. I'm talking about what is that inalienable part of a human being that makes you distinctly human, right? And so what do I mean by that? I'm a Homo sapien myself. I have bilateral symmetry, 2 arms, 2 ears, 2 eyes. So it's not really my physical body that makes me who I am. In fact, if I get into a terrible car accident, I become a quadriplegic. I'm still Lou Elizondo, right? And if I were to, for example, suffer a traumatic brain injury, I get hit by a car, for example, or riding a bicycle, even though intellectually I might be compromised, I'm still Lou Elizondo. It's not my brain or my body that makes who I am. Everybody's got pretty much the same kind of body I have, probably a little more fit, and you know, have a brain with gray matter in which to think. There's something else that makes us uniquely human, that makes Lou, and you, Mark, and Ollie. And that's something that mankind has been trying to figure out and isolate now for millennia. Some people call it the soul, some people call it the id or the chi or whatever you want to call it. It's something that is indelible. And we are all conscious. We are all beings of consciousness, meaning we are more than what we are physically. There is something else that goes beyond that physical state. And you could even bring in the conversation of like remote viewing into that, right? There are capabilities that most human beings have, and they're probably old capabilities, not new capabilities that we evolved for survival, that make us spiritual beings. And again, I want to make sure I'm not saying in the woo-woo sense. I mean, true spiritual beings beyond the physical and intellectual self. And it is the way, perhaps, is that related to UAP? It certainly could be. You know, it would be unwise to simply suggest that whatever these UAP are strictly physical. I think Jim Lakatsky is right. I think there's something more to it. Now, whether or not we will recognize it as some sort of fraternal connection between our soul and something else's soul, I don't know. But look, where I live here in Wyoming, as you can see with the big cow picture here, I have 6 German Shepherds. And let me tell you, those little sons of guns are just about as human. They are, in fact, more human than most humans. They think, they can manipulate, not in a bad way, but in you know, the way that dogs do. If they want something to eat, or they want to go out and go to the bathroom, or they want to play, and there is a sentience. And anyone who's ever had a cat or a dog will tell you the same thing. There is definitely a soul inside that little fursuit, whatever that soul is. And human beings can connect with those animals, and those animals connect with us. Is it the same thing with UAP? Are we about to find perhaps another cousin of ours from a spiritual perspective? That would certainly be great. But at the end of the day, I simply don't know. I think chances are, more than likely, if it's an advanced species, it's more than just an automaton. It is indeed probably some sort of living, breathing, thinking, and perhaps conscious and sentient, meaning self-aware organism.
It's a really great question and a great answer, Lou. As I jump on to the next one, this is a question from @19D Chain Loop. So here we go. Lou, do you feel burdened by the information you've gained on UAPs and the part where you're not able to share everything you know about the phenomenon?
1,000%. I go to bed every night with regret that I can't tell everybody what I know. But I also take solace in knowing that we've come a long way in the last 7 years, and no one had to violate their security oaths or break the law. Jim Lakatsky didn't. I didn't. Jay didn't. There's a right way and wrong way to do things. Anybody who's read my book will see the redactions that the Pentagon put in there. I did my best to try to keep it unclassified, and yet still there were portions that the Pentagon did not want people to read. And I have to respect that, because at the end of the day, if people continue wanting me to continue to provide information, I don't need to go to jail, right? If you want me to, I mean, I could come out and just blab everything I know and go to jail and be done with it and have all my access removed. But that really wouldn't be helpful towards disclosure, would it? Imagine if I did this back in 2017 and I just kind of said what I knew. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd probably be in jail and people would have forgotten about the topic and said, who was that crazy guy who said something? I don't know. He said something he shouldn't have, and that'd be the end of it. So that's why I've chosen the path I have. And yes, it frustrates me. Every single day, I wish I could say more. And that's one of the reasons why we're taking this show on the road. Let's not forget, folks, that for the last 7 years, we've been working off of a very specific blueprint, right? And it's the 5 pillars of engagement. It's legislative engagement, executive level engagement, international engagement, media engagement, and public engagement. This is part of public engagement. What we're doing right now, all of us collectively. When I come out and we take the show on the road and we start talking to people on the streets, it's important for people to realize I'm not going out there just to tell you what I know. I'm going out there to find out what you believe and what you want to see happen. Now that we're getting to the disclosure kind of on track where we want it to go, we have to shift the conversation. We have to take the conversation to the streets. And why is that? Because look, I've said before, there's definitely national security aspects to this conversation. And yeah, I do want a 3 or a 4-star general working this topic as it relates to incursions into U.S. airspace or perhaps interfering with our nuclear equities. But this is a much bigger conversation that affects every single one of us equally and yet differently. It affects us from a psychological perspective, a sociological perspective, a philosophical perspective, and even a theological perspective. And I don't feel comfortable with a 3 or 4-star general telling me what to think about this from those perspectives. I think this is a conversation we all need to have, and especially you, the audience, you folks, you are the ones ultimately that are going to decide for humanity what this topic means, not Lou Elizondo. So in order for me to continue doing what I'm doing and engaging Congress and trying to get new laws on the docket and trying to get this push forward, I need to know what you think. I need to know how you feel about this topic. I need to know what you want from this topic so then we can champion that. And that's one of the major reasons we are now going to take this conversation to the streets, because ultimately we want to put this conversation back in the hands of the average citizen, of the American taxpayer, and frankly, the world, and let the citizens of the world decide for themselves what we should think about this topic, not necessarily a 3 or 4-star general sitting at the Pentagon.
It's perfect timing for you to get to that cadence, as over 1,000 people are tuning in, listening to you speak live right now. That number seems to only be growing. And for those of you that have been listening for a while, or if you have just arrived, share that link. If you know people interested in having this conversation about disclosure, it's time to spread the word. It's time to share this link, and let's see how far we can get. I think, Lou, we were expecting maybe 100. We are doing a lot of people right now. So the next question, as we focus,
real quick, just one last alibi on this, because it's really important. This is your chance when we go out to these towns and we do these forums. I'm going to be giving a presentation, but there's going to be a chance not only for you to ask questions, but I want to hear from you what you feel about this and what direction we need to go in next. And so that's why it's really important for you all to stay engaged in this topic, because now we've come as far as we have. Now we're turning the conversation over to you. I don't know if that's ever been done before, but I'm trying to democratize this conversation where it belongs. And here is your chance. So if I'm coming to your town and you want to tell me what you think about this, here's your chance to do it.
Well, here is a question from someone called JFuture12,
but isn't that what Twitter does? On social media?
It's supposed to.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's not behind a paywall.
Yeah, that too. Absolutely.
Again, for those of you just joining,
and it's a chance, not an opportunity, but a chance. A chance means you may or may not get it. Just want to point that out as well. There's small little words mean a lot.
You've got that purple button in the bottom right corner. Fire your questions in the comments. That's what I've been doing as I've been trying to moderate this, is just going through, posing your questions directly to Lou. Here's a great one. Lou, what patterns or commonalities have you observed in your UAP investigations that could maybe help explain their origin or intent?
Wow. Holy smokes. Well, origin is still up in the air. So I'm going to do a polite pass on that, because we might start having some ideas, but we don't really know yet for sure. So let's stick to as far as intent, right? What their intent is, and I'm sorry, what their potentially capabilities are. Intent is really hard. We kind of talked about this before, right? About the shark. There's motivation, but intent is a little bit harder.
Yeah, but based on the observations that have been made, what is the projected intent based on what's been observed? What we know, right, Mike?
No, you're exactly right.
This is where we're going to dance around for a bit, but I just want to call it out. Forget about the capabilities of the craft. I said this earlier. Forget about all that. Just tell us, please. What are they doing here? Period. I don't care about the craft, how the craft works. I don't care about the energy systems of the craft, the dynamics of it, the energy fields, any of that stuff. Push it aside. Just tell us the truth. What are they doing here? And I think that's a good start, Mike, right? I think Jan agrees.
Yeah. Oh, no, listen, that's the only way to go because, and nothing else really matters, Thomas.
Yeah. Now,
you're right.
When I had someone tell me, really open up the eyes and saying, yeah, these things aren't real, when a gray came and held a guy's head down and took something that looked like a knitting needle and put it up to his eye socket around his eye and crunched through the back of his skull that he could hear, and he was totally paralyzed, couldn't move, and had put something in there and pulled it out. That doesn't sound like anything that's good. That's something like, what are they? That's the big question. What the hell are they doing there, right, Mike?
Well, how about, we covered this numerous times. What about when John Ramirez got into a fist fight with a gray at his bedroom? I mean, that doesn't sound friendly to me, remember?
Yeah. And that's another one, yeah. Well, not that could potentially happen, but that's why they probably go after kids, because they're easy to put into that frickin' twilight zone where it's like you're under anesthesia. You just kind of go along with stuff. Let's continue on with this. But I just had a jump in here because I've got skin in the game on this one personally.
To try to figure out. This is why I think it's so perplexing from the national security perspective, because if you want to identify if something is an actual national security threat, it's a very simple calculus. It's capabilities versus intent.
But what about the threat to the general public? Because that's who's watching this. It's the frickin' general public, right? Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else. That's who's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Seeing a lot of the capabilities, we still don't know the intent. Now, one could surmise that we see the correlation between water and also our nuclear equities. So there may be some sort of intent woven in there. Maybe the intent over water, I don't know. Maybe it's a fuel source. Who knows? Maybe it's where they live. Who knows? As far as nuclear technology, we know that they are very interested in our nuclear capabilities and equities, and same with other countries. So I think it's fair to presume at this point, even though it's still a little early on, that there is some sort of intent as it relates to our nuclear equities. Now, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We can certainly get into that conversation. Mark, I'll let you decide because I know we want to get to a lot of questions here. But if you want me to expound upon that, I'm happy to do so. Otherwise, we can go to the next question.
I mean, I have a never-ending flood of not just questions, but great questions. So I'm going to have to jump on and see how many people we can get into the conversation here, because remember, for you tuning in, this isn't going to be the only time me and Lou do this. We're going to see if we can do this a little bit more often as we go. Yeah. Here's one from someone at Tiny Klaus, which, again, 10 points for the name. Lou, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, where do you believe humanity might be on the food chain within our own solar system based on what you've learned?
Solar system, I think we are pretty much a 10. But beyond our solar system, it's anybody's guess. I think if you look at the Drake equation and statistics, with all the hundreds of billions of star systems out there, let's not forget there are more stars in our visible galaxy than there are grains of sand on all the beaches in all the world, right? That's a lot. I think depending where you go, we may be a 1, right? We might be a 10 here, right? In the comfort of my own home or the comfort of my own planet or even my own solar system. NASA does a pretty good job looking for microbial life on Mars and some of these moons around Jupiter and Saturn and whatnot. And who knows, we're probably going to maybe find life down there, microbial life under the ice or something. But that's not really an apex predator now, is it? Unless it's a very dangerous virus, and then that's a different story because it could wipe everybody out. I don't think that's the case, by the way, for the record. Tiny Klaus's question is great because it's really relative. Here in the solar system, I think we're probably at a 9 or a 10. I don't think we're going to find anything necessarily in our solar system that's going to be more advanced than us, other than if something's already been here, like on our planet, meaning underwater. If that is supposing they are from out there, wherever that is. But the further out you go, chances are the lower on that food chain we're going to start realizing we are. I mean, we're safe here right now in our little neighborhood, but it's an awfully big cosmos, folks. I mean, it is an awful. Look at this. I mean, it takes light. It travels at.
Could he be referring to 2034, 2036, Mike?
Yeah, 2036, Thomas.
Yeah.
That's what he's referring to. Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, they may have came from out there, but they may have been here for hundreds of thousands of years, predating humans' arrival on this planet.
186,000 miles.
Yeah.
The 2036 date doesn't mean that they're going to be arriving at 2036. It means that they may have been here the entire time. They're just going to make their presence known on 2036.
Yeah.
So just so the audience understands what we're talking about.
Oh, in other words, the invasion force is already here.
And may have been here long
entire
ago.
time that humanity's been here.
That's a good possibility.
Yeah. Time to dust out those saucers again, guys. We're putting them to use. The talking monkeys have gotten too dangerous.
You're not just throwing poop anymore.
No.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
Per second. That's 7.5 times around our planet in 1 second. Now, imagine how far light can travel in a week. Now, imagine how far it can travel in a year. That's 1 light year. Now, imagine how far it can travel in 47 billion light years, right? That is an enormous, and that's only 10% of the calculated size of our actual universe. So it's almost impossible to comprehend numbers like that. You really need to compare it to something else. That's why I use the analogy of sand on the beach versus stars in the visible universe. Great question from Tiny Klaus. Hopefully that answered your question. Again, 9 or 10 here. Further you go out, that number starts to go down and down and down, I'm afraid.
Well, here's one from Spickler. This is just being asked in the comments just now. Lou, pursuing total disclosure, do you ever have a feeling of being under surveillance, maybe government surveillance?
All the time, brother. I've been told I was under investigation several times. It's already out. I already know it.
Not investigation, under surveillance. Difference.
Look, let's face it. I pissed a lot of people off when I came out the way I did. I don't think it's justified for them to be mad at me, but I can understand some people being upset with me. I had the Pentagon come after me. I've had others come after me. Yes, I have noticed surveillance on me. In fact, there was an interesting story that if you ever get a chance to talk to Leslie Kane or Ralph Blumenthal when they were running their New York Times story, we caught surveillance red-handed. And I feel a little guilty about this, but I do what we call a surveillance detection route, an SDR, because I pretty confident I was being followed. So I got them channeled into kind of a dead end where they had no way but to go forward. And when they went forward, I had Leslie and Ralph were taking pictures of the people that were surveilling me. Not to make humor in light of it, by the way, it pretty much sucks when you know you're being followed and you're being surveilled and whatnot. But yeah, I know people in the government listen to every word I say. They're waiting for me to have one oopsie and say something I'm not supposed to. I live my life that way every day.
Well, no oopsies. Yeah, I hope. And no oopsies as we jump onto our next question. Remember, for everyone tuning in about 20 minutes, we are going to be doing more questions over on YouTube. So if you haven't already...
Okay. I have to say this. They weren't taking any more live questions on YouTube. These were questions that were already given. and gathered on social media and Instagram and other places. And it was a pre-recorded. And a lot of people I did see that went to watch this broadcast, they thought it was going to be live, but it wasn't live. It just comes down to, it could be because the host is from the UK maybe, and he's not saying it outright, but the same.
Already subscribed to Lou Elizondo's YouTube channel, you can just jump straight over there. If you want more questions answered and you're just not getting enough just yet, do not fear. We have another hour of this at the top of the hour. So Lou's going to have to leave in around about 10-15 minutes as we prepare to move over. But here is a great question. It's very on the nose, but I'm going to pass this question on from Nick Vaquarano. Now, I probably have pronounced that wrongly, Nick. I apologize, but here's the question. Was there any acknowledgement or discussion of human-initiated contact with NHI while you were working at the Pentagon?
There was. There was some discussion that these things could be lured or attracted to certain. Also, there was some historical documentation from remote viewers who allegedly had initiated some sort of contact with something, not human. And then there were the discussions of, for example, like Edwards Air Force Base and some other Air Force bases where maybe there was actually deliberate contact between non-human intelligence and humans. Now, that was...
It's drifted out. It's not me. The video is actually drifted out of sync with the audio. Nothing I can do about that. So just wanted to point that out. Yes, Rick?
Just a quick question. So this is the Spaces he did before the YouTube. And you're saying that this Spaces was pre-recorded?
Spaces was live. YouTube was pre-recorded.
Oh, okay. So we're in the YouTube section right now, right?
No, we're in the Spaces section. That was live.
Oh, okay.
YouTube,
okay, so
where they were
Spaces
sending other people over to, that was pre-recorded. And as soon as I saw it say YouTube premiere, I instantly knew that. So I was telling Mike, it's not live. It's pre-recorded.
Okay, so the best bet to catch Lou live is on Spaces then?
Apparently so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before my time, so I can't tell you if that's real or not. I can tell you that I heard.
But that might change in the future, Rick. You never know.
It, and I can tell you that people talked about it, but I cannot tell you because I wasn't there. I can only tell you what the lore and some of the stories were from some of the old graybeards that I worked with at the Pentagon.
Here's another question from Ufologically Smug. What are your opinions on the Roswell case? Are you cleared to share all you know about the crash of this saucer?
Yeah, I'm only cleared to share what I shared in my book that got cleared from DOPSR, from the Pentagon. They were pretty sensitive about it. Actually, what I initially wrote was a little bit more comprehensive, and then I realized that they were probably going to go ahead and redact the entire thing. So I chose the safe side and only tried to float a couple of the details and got it through, believe it or not. I am aware of more details. The problem is that I wasn't there firsthand, so all I'm looking at are reports from their government reports, so their official documentation and official reports. But anybody who was around back then, for the most part, isn't here anymore, right? They're gone. They're dead. So unfortunately, having firsthand eyewitness testimony is more challenging. But there was ample, substantial documentation that I was able to look at, and then, of course, lean on the shoulders of some of the graybeards in the program, right? People like Hal Pudoff and other individuals that were assisting us, and Kit Green and those folks that helped us with some of that more historical.
Wait a minute, Mike. Well, we know, are you with us, Mike? No, we lost him.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, so we've known that Hal Pudoff, right? And who's the other guy he just mentioned? Kit Green, right? We know there's been stories about them and their involvement in different things from the government. But Lou literally just said they were in, quote unquote, the program.
Right. That was a quote.
That's big. He's never said that before.
That's correct. It's good to point that out.
Yeah. Small little words sometimes.
Breadcrumbs.
Yep. Absolutely. Here we go.
We'll have to ask him about that when he comes on the show next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Historical knowledge.
The next question comes from James Limmer. And James says, Lou, what is your confidence in full or incremental disclosure happening through Congress? And how quickly do you think it could happen?
Well, there's a joke there, right? The Latin word pro means forward, so progress, I understand, and which makes sense now why Congress is called Congress, right? But look, in reality, you have to have them on board. They are the leaders of our nation who make laws. And if you want the laws to change in favor of disclosure, you have to engage them. There's no way around it. You've got to do it. And there's a lot of good members of Congress. I got to tell you, I've had the honor and privilege of speaking to many of them, both in the Senate and in the House. And the vast majority are actually really, really good people. There's a couple there that are in it for the wrong reasons and are in it for themselves. I try not to deal with them. I do when I'm forced to because they're still part of the equation. But by and large, most of the people I interact with tend to be really, their heart's in the right place and they're trying to do the right thing. And you have to engage them because the only way you're going to get the executive branch to do what it needs to do is if you create laws mandating they do what you need them to do. And so that's why we engage Congress.
Now remember, Lou said he's working for the executive branch. Keep that in mind.
Lou, I've known you long enough to know you're never scared of difficult questions. And as I am very aware, not everyone in the world is necessarily an advocate of this, right? There are always split people, as you can imagine. So I'm going to chuck you a little bit of cover.
That is an understatement, my friend. If hating is an extreme form of love, boy, they must really love me, brother.
Well, here's one for you, saying, Lou, we always hear something big is coming, something's coming out, or someone's going to disclose something, but it never really seems to happen. And this is from Wildcats Num 1, who says, my question is, when will it actually happen? It just doesn't seem like anything's really going to come out that's solid. I really hope it does. Keep doing the work you do, and I look forward to some disclosure to really...
Really quick, I need to get in here. Listen to the answer on this one. We're going to talk about a lot of things that happened in the past, 4 years ago, more than 4 years ago, maybe some things that are a little more recent. But nothing saying when. He's going to say, go ahead and come back in 5 years. I hope it's not 5 years. Just saying. So with those little points, listen in. Here we go.
Come out.
Great. Well, I'm going to respectfully and very respectfully disagree with that because from my position, here's what I see over the last 7 years. I see an acknowledgement by the executive branch that these are real. They've created an entire office called ARROW, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it wasn't created by the executive branch. It was created under the mandate coming from the Senate. Originally, it was going to be AOI MSG, and they weren't going to give any public updates, but Congress put this in play.
To actually investigate this with real money behind it and real authorities. You now have Congress that are writing legislation and have already passed legislation, both Trump and Biden, right? Both sides passing legislation for whistleblowers. You've had whistleblowers to include people like Dave Fravor and Ryan Graves and David Grush all come out, right? You've had the former director of national intelligence, Ratcliffe, come out and talk about it. You had the former director of the
4 years ago.
CIA, Brennan, come out and talk about it.
Over 4 years ago.
And you had two former presidents of the United States, all in the last 7 years, say, yeah, there's something to see here, folks. It's real. Oh, by the way.
Obama and Trump. Nothing from Biden. Except go ask Barack.
You had testimony in Congress where the USDI swore under oath and discussed things like ATIP. You had the Navy coming out and showing UAP and these balls that they could not explain and say, yes, they are truly unidentified.
Okay, coming from the Navy, yeah. But you got to remember, all videos and everything has been locked down after the Tic Tac video and the Go Fast and all those came out. Nothing else has come out really of worth since then. Nothing.
And you also have now these reports that are coming out to Congress, like the 100-day report, and then you had an annual report that's now due to Congress. And those reports...
And all the other reports that have been coming so late and have been so crappy since we had RO come around. The only good report we ever got was from the UAPTF. This is me getting a little, not pissed at Lou, just pissed at the situation we're in.
Now being revealed to the American people. Let's not forget, just a couple years ago, Arrow came out with their first report and said there's 144 incidents of UAP and 143 remain unsolved, but I'm sure by next year we'll have resolved most of them. What happens next year? Holy crap, there's now over 300. And what happens a year after that? Holy crap, now there's over 800 of these things.
And what kind of information has come out from RO for the general public about any of those that are worth anything? Anyone got a candle you can hold up to it? Because there's not a lot.
I don't know what they are, right? So you have more whistleblowers coming out ready to testify. You've got more hearings potentially coming up here in November. How much more do you really want? I mean, I understand people want to see a picture and they want some sort of validation, but I mean, the way I look at it is like...
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened a while ago. What about now? Really, what about now?
Guys, you've had the validation. It's there. We are already beyond the threshold of disclosure. It may not be the particular flavor you want or maybe the way you expected it, but we're here.
We're back to the disclosure has happened thing again, Mike. What the fuck? Disclosure has not happened. It's still, as Tim Burchett, what does Tim Burchett say, Mike?
It's a cover-up, Thomas.
Yeah, exactly right. We wouldn't have Tim Burchett always saying it's a cover-up. Sorry, you're getting me to talk a little bit more because we're talking about something I'm testy on. I love Lou, but let's speed it up, please. I want to get it. Mike, I have 5 years until I have to get another colonoscopy, and I want to have disclosure before they have to go up my ass again to look for UFOs.
I'm with you, Thomas. I hear you.
Yeah, and you'll probably need one then again too. So,
for the UFOs?
What was that?
So wait, they're going in your ass looking for the UFOs?
No, I'm joking. I need another colonoscopy in 5 years for a routine checkup, like most people do who are over 50. So I'm saying, by the next time they're going to look for UFOs, unidentified fucking objects up my ass. Hopefully they don't find any, but I hope we get the real truth about UFOs by then. Really?
Yeah. Thomas is trying to say the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. Yes.
Got to move on.
Yeah. That's what I told the doctor. Hey, at least this time I didn't have Dr. Tongue.
We're here. We're investing money. We have people for the record, members of Congress, even a member of the executive branch. Look at Podesta, right? It's amazing.
We're going back to Hillary, Podesta. That was before Hillary. Fuck.
These people are now saying for the record, and by the way, these are politicians who tend to be risk averse to begin with. So I tend to be a little bit more optimistic. Thank you for giving me credit for continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue doing it. I'm doing it for you.
Hey, Mike, could you do me a favor? Can you mute when you're not talking? Because there's reverb coming in through your mic.
My apologies. I'll mute now.
Thank you.
So don't take my reply here, in disagreement as being hostile in any way. I understand what you want, and we are working like hell to try to make it happen. It just takes time. Remember when I first came out, I said, guys, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you're looking for instant gratification, which, by the way, no, you're not, but some people are, tune out for 5 years and then tune back in and see where we are in the conversation. But this is a big deal, folks. We're asking people to accept a new paradigm.
Tune out for 5 years. Like I said, get out the Roto-Rooter.
Paradigm, a new reality that frankly could contradict with the way people were raised and maybe what you learned in Sunday school or Hebrew school or it's what your parents told you. This is a big pill to swallow. And you can't eat a 12-course meal all in one bite. You just simply can't. You'll choke. So we have to take this in bite-sized increments. And I know it's frustrating for a lot of people, but I think
there's a lot of things you can't take in one bite, Mike.
I think we are achieving the goal. Again, not as fast as people may want or expect, but we're getting there.
Well, as we look to wrap up this hour, there's many people that I can see in the comments who are saying, Lou, thank you for answering the questions. And with every one person that is thanking you for answering a question, there's another 10 who are still firing questions that are unanswered. Now, I'm going to finish with one more question. But just before we wrap up, do remember, we're going to do another session on YouTube. It's going to be in 9 minutes. So as soon as we wrap up this, jump over to Lou Elizondo's YouTube channel. And remember, if you want to be part of this deeper disclosure discussion, go to Lou Elizondo.
Firing up another session, I just have to say, false advertising, because it wasn't another question and answer session. It was questions and answers that were already gotten, and it's a pre-recorded video of Lou answering those questions, actually from his office. So, yeah. Sorry. Pet peeve here.
Official.com, sign up to the mailing list, because Lou is going to be writing each month or every couple of months just to fill everyone in with what's going on. So, look, Lou, the final question is, why do you feel right now is a good time to take this on the road and start doing public appearances? Why now?
Well, why not?
And also, forgive me for jumping in, and also, what are you trying to gain from this? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah. Well, we should have done this a long time ago. This should have been done decades ago, and then it should have been done years ago, and it should have been done months ago, and it should still be happening. I'm at the point now where we have enough traction happening behind the scenes on certain initiatives that I need to go back and engage the public. Part of public engagement, most importantly of all the 5 pillars, is public engagement. This only works because the public's involved. This is a grassroots effort that's getting people to call their members of Congress, to let the media know it's okay to report on this. It's happening. It's happening. And so I think the time has come for me to come back and engage people one-on-one and find out what they think. And more importantly, what we should do from here, right? This shouldn't be a unilateral decision, world according to Lou, or world according to the Pentagon, or world according to the CIA, or anybody else. This should be, a conversation we all have collectively and together. And if I can champion some of those perspectives as I'm out on the street, it's the reason why news correspondents go to the street, because they want to take a pulse of what's actually happening with the people. And at the end of the day, that is what this conversation's about. It is about the people. And so that is why I'm taking this back to the streets and getting a chance to hear from everybody out there, good, bad, or indifferent, what they think and how we should be handling this topic moving forward. Because I think we're coming to a crossroads, and we're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. And we really need to make this decision collectively. This should not be made in a vacuum by some government bureaucrats or some advocates or anybody, really. It should be a collective decision.
Well, as we wrap up this first session, one last time, it's been an absolute honor to host this. My name has been Mark Kovich. I'm going to hopefully do this with my very good friend Lou many times as we sort of continue.
All right, there we go. How about that? Mike, your thoughts? Look forward to hear what you and others in the back think about this. I need to go get some ginger ale for my stomach. If you could...
Yeah, I got it.
Take it, my friend.
What I was going to say is, you made a point about when he said instant gratification. Well, the way I see it is, he came out publicly 2017. That's 7 years ago. And the government has been hiding this for the last 80 years or longer. So any truth that comes out or any information, that doesn't sound like instant gratification to me. Not at all. And as far as this grassroots effort, and he is specifically looking to have the public come up with solutions and answers as what direction to move in moving forward. To me, it's something you can make a bumper sticker out of, or a T-shirt. It's pretty straightforward. Bring out the truth and give us the proof. That's it. Doesn't get any more complicated than that. Just bring out the truth and give us the proof. That's all anybody in the public wants to hear, right?
In a reasonable amount of time. We're not asking for a marathon, but we're asking for some progress, notable progress, measurable progress, more than progress of what happened 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. Yeah, AJ, very simple concept. Yes, I agree completely. Oh boy. Anything, Andy, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I didn't catch this one. I caught the pre-record.
What, did you watch
night.
it with us here?
Last night I've watched this now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on this one here? Yeah.
Yeah, this one. More of much of, the same as what Lou's always talked about. Is it the same old being rehashed? I like the idea of him coming out and doing these discussions, but are we going to learn any more? I don't know that we are personally.
Yeah, it sounds honestly today, in my personal humble opinion, Andy, but it really feels like we're hearing some of the same stuff we've heard in the past, but actually some of the answers are more reined in from what we heard in the past, because Lou says, now I'm only able to go ahead and talk about what was cleared in Dopser in the past, but there's a lot of things that Lou talked about in the past as well.
Yeah, sure. He said about at the beginning, 2027. I think it was either this one or it was.
No, he mentioned about 2027, and it could be 2034, 2036, somewhere in that. Just a little bit of time down the road.
Yeah, I noticed during the one that they held after the pre-record, he said it's definitely not 2027. So that was something that came out in the pre-record one. That
I've been saying that for some time, though.
Yeah. Wait and see again. Always a wait and see.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else in the back have anything else to say?
Yeah, I do.
Rick has his hand up.
Go ahead, Rick.
My opinion might not be, I might get a little bash for this, but I was getting Stephen Greer vibes. I mean, it's like, come join my mailing list, follow my mailing list, come see me in person where I could talk more about this, but he's not going to go past the line. We know that. And then it's like, well, why am I meeting you in person? Well, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your stories. I'm just getting a lot of, it's rehashed news to me, and I'm just getting some Stephen Greer vibes from it. Hate me for my opinion, but I was just kind of getting that from it.
I hear you, because now it's gone from just a public conversation to where he's been on a lot of live streams. People have asked a lot of questions. He made himself really available to the public, to now where it's more of a much metered kind of a thing. And also to get to where if you want that opportunity to have a chance, remember, come and see me in person at one of my venues.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be doing night watches soon. He's going to be, selling night watches, unfortunately.
Watches, or no, I don't think he'll be selling Bibles either, so I don't think he'll be doing that. I don't think it'll be never mind, I won't get there. Shelly, you have your hand up, my dear lady.
Yeah, Thomas, thank you. Just thoughts on this from anybody. I keep getting the feeling that this has been going on for so long. If they're reverse engineering whatever they're doing, they still haven't figured it out. They're missing something. And I just get the feeling that they actually do need us experiencers because of what we experience. And they're taking notes on it and they're writing them down, and they're all just trying to scramble to put it all together.
Oh, I think they've got a pretty good picture at this point. They're just not letting us know what they know and what they can see and what they have seen. They've got a lot of the dots, and they know how to connect them. Again, it's to keep it out of our hands. You know what I mean, Shelley?
I do. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
Absolutely. Tia?
I wouldn't go as far to say that Lou is like Stephen Greer. I wouldn't go that far. I don't.
Mhm. I agree with you on that.
Wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, you just said he had vibes
people,
of.
I get it that I don't. The vibe just isn't there for me.
There you go. That's fine. Everybody sees it differently.
I get it that people are a little, irritated about not having all the answers, but maybe people need to come up with better questions. And
I think there's a bunch of good questions, but it's just
I think
addressing them directly instead of talking around it.
Were really good. I heard him talk about more things this time than I have in a lot of other things. I'm not going to expect Lou to break his security oath. He's already let us know he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe people should go outside with their cameras and try and catch more stuff. I don't know. But
well, we need better equipment. A lot of the ones around
on one person.
You need better equipment. A lot of the stuff you can't that's going around the skies around here. You can only see it with a camera. You can only see it with a camera that's cost you $12,000. So there are some off-the-shelf solutions you can get for $200-$300 out there. They can let you see some things in the skies you normally can't see, but there's a lot of ones out there that even with that $300 camera, it's going to be hard to pick it up.
I get it. I get it. It's just going to be it's going to have to be fought on multiple fronts. We can't just attack the one person that's trying, at least.
No, we're not attacking him at all. No.
I just, I really think that Lou has done a lot for this. And I think that Stephen Greer has hurt this.
Oh, God, yeah. Greedy topic. Greer. Man,
yeah.
What's his name again? DC Muscle Wolf. Greer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's hurt this topic as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
He did good in the beginning for a lot of years, and then he just completely went left. So
he was the chosen one.
Yeah, and then until he really took that shit to his head, and decided to pay people to lie and shit.
Well, so dropping flares and other kinds of stuff, and
and integrity matters to me, personally. What
I remember, the cost to go to dinner with Greer was thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
Here
and
even
like if he had a watch party, even if Lou, had a watch party, I don't know, with somebody like Christopher Bledsoe or something like that, I still wouldn't say he's like Greer. I mean, I don't think that Lou would.
No, they didn't say he's like. They're just getting some Greer vibes. That's all. And you've said that a bunch of times. I get it and everything. Everybody sees this through a different lens, and I appreciate your support for Lou. Tia?
Yeah, no, it's not even that it's so much support for him. It's just my not support for Stephen Greer.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I hear where you're coming from, my friend. I hear where you're coming from. If I can, Mike, are you around, my friend?
The whole time, Thomas.
All right. So you broke a very interesting story on Twitter. It's one of our headlines today. Rather than me reading your tweet, I'd rather let you, my friend, take it to the audience.
Maybe we should give them a little background on the story that you and I were working on behind the scenes. Read the tweet, because it's chock full of really good information, and then we could talk about it with the audience.
Oh, Mike's eating some dinner right now. We caught him.
Yeah, a little bit. A quick snack.
Yeah, I got you. Let me go ahead and I've got to find your tweet here, and let's look for, there you are. Let's get to your tweet. So, all right, where is it at? Let's go to the one from Gary Nolan. Yeah, you put out a heck of a tweet the other day that had a lot of people. Jeremy Corbell, you had Ross Coulthard, Gary Nolan quote tweeting you on it.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's information that they already know has been verified. Even there's another live streamer out there by the name of Pavel or someone like that who actually took your story and ran with it today, and I think he may have given you credit for it too, didn't he, on his live stream?
He did. It was last night that he broke the story live, and he doesn't do a live stream last night, but he came on and he did an episode about the story. And today it was Christian Harloff from the Big Trouble show, and he did a story on this, and it was he did good coverage on it. And the interesting thing is that both Christian Harloff and Pavel Abera have sources that they checked with on their own about this and talked about the credibility of what we were discussing about this. But
so kind of what's going on, we'll get to the tweet and the details.
Yeah.
Big story picture or big picture of this story from a 10,000-foot view. The DOD and IC is meeting with members of the House coming up this week in an attempt to shut down the hearing.
Right, because they can't stop the whistleblowers, and what they're most worried about is they have witnesses that have direct knowledge of the USAP Immaculate Constellation, and the hearing's focus this time around is going to be on that program.
Oh, wow.
And they have multiple witnesses that are supposed to be coming and testifying, and because the Pentagon cannot shut these witnesses up due to the witness protection that they have in the legislation, they're trying to shut the whole hearing down. Wow. So that's what's been going on, and it gets into detail about the members of Congress.
Yeah, here, you eat
that.
your food. I'll read through I'll read through it right now with you hanging out. Let me get down to the desk chat, and I'll go ahead and read this one for everybody. The House, breaking news, the House Oversight Committee public UAP hearing, which is scheduled for November 13th, 2024, might be canceled while confidential sources within Congress have informed us that ranking members of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, also known as Representative Mike Turner and Representative Jim Hines, are working with ranking members of the Pentagon. I'm going to mute you, Mike, for a second. You got it. Good. Thank you. All right. So Jim Hines are working with ranking members in the Pentagon to have the upcoming hearings canceled. Turner and Himes are presenting a bipartisan approach against disclosure on behalf of national security concerns from the Pentagon. The recent Michael Schellenberger article about the USAP Immaculate Constellation will be a focus in the upcoming hearing on November 13th. There are several witnesses with direct knowledge of this program who have come forward to Congress. One of the witnesses is expected to testify about the program at the hearing. The Pentagon is trying to pressure Congress due to national security concerns to cancel this November 13th hearing. Now, Representative Turner and Himes are backing the Pentagon in Congress about these concerns. Now, this is a developing story, and there are going to be further updates on it. Mike, this is one heck of a story.
It's because it goes to show you the depths of how far the Pentagon will go within Congress to hide the truth from coming out. They didn't expect Schellenberger to break that story or have the name of this program come out publicly.
No, they didn't, did they?
They sure as hell did not. And they've been scrambling to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. Sometimes it's about expecting the unexpected.
I've been waiting all night to ask Mike a couple questions about this.
Oh, go right ahead, sir.
All right. Mike, okay, so how much juice does Turner and Hines have? Like, can they are they trying to convince them to shut this hearing down, or do they actually have the authority to do it on their own? Is one question. And just a follow-up question, do you think it was bad that Schellenberger broke that story? Do you think that he should have held on to it until after the hearings?
In my opinion, and this is strictly my personal opinion, if I was him and I had this story, I probably would have waited a couple of days before the actual hearing to make it publicly known, just to get the heat off of what we see unfolding behind the scenes now from the Pentagon and certain members of Congress. But he didn't, and that was his choice. And one of the reasons why he may not have waited is because when you have a witness like this that is going up against the great machine of the Pentagon, they are literally in fear for their life and that of their families. And the best type of protection that you could provide them once this information comes out is to break the story publicly so that it's now well known. Because if anything happens to them at that point, it's going to blow back on the Pentagon. And they don't want that. So usually when you have a witness or a whistleblower, you try to get that information out publicly as quickly as you can to keep them protected. And I think that's one of the reasons why he did what he did.
Yeah, I didn't think of that point. That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
I also can tell you that I've spoken with him, and the witness that he has is very nervous about what could happen next. And because of that fear, which is rightfully so, they want this information out, so it kind of takes the heat off of them bringing it out. Now, when this story broke with Schellenberger, people thought that, okay, there's a secret whistleblower like Rush who's coming out behind the scenes, and this story is breaking with somebody that has direct knowledge. But the truth of the matter is it's more than one person from within the government that has direct knowledge of this program and has come forward to testify before Congress. And not all of them are going to be coming forward publicly. Certainly not the witness that Schellenberger has. He has no intention of coming out publicly to protect him and his family. So I can tell you it's going to be other people that are unknown as of yet that we might be hearing from at the next hearing, if the hearing takes place.
Right.
So that's something that the government doesn't want to happen. And that's why, because they can't quite shut these people up, they're trying to shut down the hearing. And that's the story that I put out there that me and Thomas have been working on, so that the public knows what they're doing. Because if we didn't say anything and we didn't break this story, and then we get into the time of the hearing, and then they announce that it's canceled for one reason or another, everybody would be in the dark as to what happened.
And just in rebuttal of the story, following up to it, Matt Laszlo reached out to UAP Chair Nancy Mace. If I go ahead and bring this up, make this
go ahead.
A little bit bigger here so everyone can see it. And coming from Nancy Mace, she said, hell or high water, there will be a hearing on November 13th. So, but one of the interesting things you did bring up today, Mike, with regards to this, according to your sources, the room for the hearing has not yet been reserved.
Right. They don't officially have it scheduled for November 13th as of yet.
Right.
Now, the story that you and I put out there, some people have been interpreting it that it meant to say that the hearing has been canceled. Well, you can't cancel something that hasn't happened yet. And what the story was really about was letting the public know that they're trying to cancel it.
Right.
And I think a lot of people may have misinterpreted that, which is why there was some comments, even with what Matt Laszlo was coming back and saying, oh, no, they assure us they're going to have this hearing. But it wasn't a question of them having it. It was a question of what's going on behind the scenes to prevent them from having it. That was the story. I don't think Laszlo caught that. So that's the back and forth that's been going on since this story came out yesterday.
Yeah. And it's an evolving story, and it's great to see so many people excited about the hearings. It's something I'd love to go ahead and see, and it's part of the conversation that we need to move forward. And hearings are a way for it to get there. It's been a while. Remember, we were supposed to get one. Weren't we supposed to get one this spring coming from Kirsten Gillibrand? But that never happened.
That's right. We also were supposed to get the UAPDA in its entire form for the past 2 years running. That never happened either. Because of all this, no, it did not. That's because of the pushback from the Pentagon and certain members of Congress that are against the truth coming out as far as what they've been hiding and covering up with the military-industrial complex and contracts for the government. They don't want the public to know this. And we've covered different aspects of this on the show at different times, the whole time. We brought up that the Pentagon has failed every audit they've been through and cannot account for a majority of their budget and assets. This is all part of this program. This is all part of what they don't want the public to
Trillions
be aware
of dollars that go unaccounted for.
21 trillion the last time we covered this.
Shit.
Right. It's a hell of a lot of money to lose track of.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, my friend. Absolutely. Quickly. Next, if we go to Andy, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, quick question for you, Mike, actually, regarding this. Representative Turner, what are your feelings on him being actually read into the program, whatever the program is? He seems extremely desperate to put a stop to this.
Hey, Mike, are you using your headset right now? Really quick, hold on. Because we're getting feedback like you're listening to it through an open mic. You know what I mean? Where the audio is coming, the feedback is coming. Just go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, do you think Representative Turner is more deeply involved in this subject than he should be? I just get the feeling. I think he's got his claws completely into it. Just he's so desperate to put a stop to this. I think personal opinion, he's got a lot of skeletons in his closet over this subject.
He's got a lot of money in his pockets, potentially, Andy.
Potentially.
He's giving you the answer, Andy. The truth of the matter is, do I think that Mike Turner is a gatekeeper for the program? No. I think that he was voted for several years one of the most corrupt politicians in Washington, D.C. for several years running. I think that he's concerned about, like Thomas just said, his funding that he gets from the military-industrial complex, who are his constituents. I believe that he's corrupt. This is corruption from the government, more so as far as Turner is concerned than it is a cover-up. It's for him, it's business, and this is why he's fighting as hard as he is, to keep the money flowing. So that's what I believe is what's behind Mike Turner's efforts to shut this down from the public.
So he's not actually a representative of the people who elected him, then, is he? He's a representative of the military-industrial complex.
Well, he's a representative of the people that are funding him, Andy. Unfortunately, there are so many politicians that go to their constituents to get elected, but yet when they get to Washington, it's all about the money, money, money. Oh, because don't forget, I have to run for office. I have all these important things. Yeah, please give us the money.
No.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, isn't her stock fund one of the most heavily watched for the profits that she makes?
Oh, gosh.
So that proves our point that it's about corruption, majority of it, in Washington. Yeah. It isn't about one particular subject or another. It's about them lining their pockets. You know, like the gold bars that were found in one of the congressman's wife's closet. Things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brian, welcome back, my friend. Long time no see. You have your hand up.
Yeah, great to see everybody. And I want to really thank Thomas and Mike for doing this, and Mike for putting it out on Twitter, because it's kind of caused a storm that this may be canceled. Now, Mike's right. It's not even on the books yet. Okay, it's not on the House calendar or anything like that. So it's hard to cancel something that's not there. So that is an issue. But at least now, with the response, Mike, that you've gotten to your tweets, it has brought a lot of sunshine, a lot of disinfectant to this. And just like Thomas was saying earlier, all the people that have come out against this, and now especially with Laszlo getting a quote directly from Nancy Mace saying, come hell or high water, this is going to occur. Now, that's all good, but the levers in the House are going to come from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and the chairman of the House Oversight Committee is James Comer, who is probably a little swampish too, so they could shut that down too. Nancy Mace herself cannot decide to hold the hearing or anything else unless, she's really got something in the back pocket of these people. That's the problem. So until we see it on the schedule, I think it's still up in the air. But Andy, I think to answer your question earlier, no, Mike Turner can't cancel it himself. He does not have that ability. Now, he may have the ability to sway Comer or specifically to sway Speaker Johnson in order to get it canceled. But who's going to ultimately pull that lever is going to be Comer and or Speaker Johnson.
Well, that's right, Brian. And also, if you remember, Thomas and I broke the story and covered it here on the show over a year ago, right after Grush had testified at the last House Oversight Committee hearing on July 26th. And Mike Turner reached out to the chair of House Oversight, James Comer, like you just pointed out, and they had a backroom meeting where they agreed that this was affecting and impacting negatively the reputation of the Department of Defense to the American public, and that they couldn't allow it to continue. So there was an agreement behind the scenes that the story we broke said that House Oversight was no longer going to have public hearings like this due to the sheer level of embarrassment that Grush had brought out to the public about the DOD and what they've been covering up until that point. And now here we go again for round two with the proposed second hearing and the story that Thomas and I broke again this year, which also broke the internet yesterday, even though Lou came out live. We put the story out at the same time, and the huge response that we got was incredible all over social media from people very high up in the community that are well known. And their sources confirmed what my sources had informed me and Thomas on what was going on behind the scenes. And by the way, it still is. This isn't over. Just because everyone is aware of the information that Thomas and I brought out publicly, it doesn't mean that the Pentagon has stopped their efforts to shut this down. It's still ongoing. I even replied to Matt Laszlo and other people that were questioning aspects of the story, and I let them know that there is a meeting scheduled behind closed doors for next week with VIP members of the Pentagon and certain key members within Congress that are still trying to have this canceled. So it's not over, and a lot could happen from now until November 13th. So it doesn't matter what Nancy Mace is saying. She's a politician.
Nick, no way. Stop it. Don't present.
Or you'll be removed very quickly. So, and you're right, Brian. This is something that is ongoing, and that was the point of the story. And I think that we're covering it again today on the show because we want to clarify it for some people that may have not understood clearly what we were trying to convey, what the story was actually about.
Yes, and if I may, I think you and Thomas deserve a big thank you for putting it out there, Mike, on your channel, to get that sunlight disinfectant out there so that we all know it. I think that was huge. I think it's well timed. It's plenty of time to pry and push on these people, just like Laszlo's doing, just like everybody else can, to try and get these politicians, especially the scummy ones. I mean, there's quite a bit of them on that House Oversight Committee, by the way, and I can probably go down the list and name every single one that's swamping the ones that aren't. But I think that what you guys did is really going to help things and hopefully get this thing on the schedule. That's the main goal.
No, you're right. And that was the goal. That's what Thomas and I talked about before the story came out, is that if they really do have a chance at shutting this down, before that can happen, we need to bring it out into the public and let it see the light of day. The problem with that is we know that anytime that you try to bring the truth out, there's going to be the other side of the coin that's going to push back. And the way that they usually push back is they just simply make a blanket statement that it's disinformation, it's not credible, and they try to get it dismissed. And we knew we were going to be up against that. And sure enough, when we broke the story yesterday, we've been getting bits and pieces of that from other people out there as well, including Matt Laszlo. But I think that had a lot to do with misunderstanding of what it is that we were talking about. We weren't, see, they're assuming and jumping to conclusions that the story was about the upcoming hearing is going to be canceled. No, the story was about they're trying to cancel it. It hasn't happened yet. So a lot of people misunderstood that. And as a result of that, they are trying to push back and just dismiss it. But you're right. Bringing the truth out is always the key thing. People have a right to know. It's why we do it. It's why we do what we do here on the show and on social media. That's what it's about. And we'll take the heat. They can come
And Mike
for
and
us.
Thomas, if you would allow me one more question here, real quick.
You've asked a couple in a row, and you got Syrup has his hand up next. If you want to put your hand up again, feel free. Syrup, go ahead.
Real quick, I noticed that Corbell was talking about even if they were canceled, because I seen Mike's post on Instagram. I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. He was saying even if they do cancel, they're still gonna push this information out there. Do you think it'll be as impactful if they do it through other channels as opposed to a hearing, or no?
Potentially so. It could be. Mike, I had to mute you for a second because you were getting really bad feedback tonight.
And I don't know why we're getting that bad feedback.
It's got to be your
I'll see what
headset
I can
again.
do.
you know they work so well for you. Did you have an answer for Syrup's question?
Okay, I reset the headset. Does it sound any better now?
Well, we'll wait. Yeah, I think so. Now when other people are talking, it's not giving feedback, so I think we should be all right.
Perfect.
You
Sorry
sound
about
fine,
that.
but
I think
when other people are talking and you're quiet, we're getting feedback was coming back through it.
That's really strange. Well, hopefully it's fixed now.
Oh, it is. As to Syrup's
I'll ask you again real quick. I'll add some. It seems like this Immaculate Constellation, there's something there, right? This is juicy info. They're sweating it right now. They're trying to shut it down. They do not want this information to get released. My question was, if they shut these hearings down and they decide to go ahead and release what was going to be said at the hearings through other channels, do you think it will still be as impactful on the movement for disclosure, or no?
No, and I'll tell you one of the key reasons why, sir. Because if it's in a congressional setting at a hearing, and these witnesses come forward under oath, the people will take that a lot more seriously. If it's coming out on social media, no. They're going to push back and say it's not credible, they're lying, it's not true. It has to be at a hearing in Congress. It's the only way for the people to take that as the truth, which is another reason why they're really trying to shut this down.
Seems to be the direction. It seems like even Syrup asked Brian's last question. Mike, wow, what a great... I'm not going to say that wow again. Mike, what a great show.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. No, this was fun between covering Lou yesterday and the story that we brought out for everybody yesterday. Yeah, it's been a good conversation.
Yeah, and I've got a week of tweets or X posts that I've saved up to talk about tomorrow.
Oh, well, we'll have enough to talk about tomorrow.
Oh, we've got more than enough to talk about tomorrow. I'll tell you that, my friend. On that note, what a great show. What a great opportunity to hang out with friends. Let me load up my sound effects package again because I had to shut stuff off because, things weren't working right on that note. Where is this at? And I have to go to and say, First of all, I want to thank everybody for your wonderful super chats tonight. Who the heck am I talking about? We had 2 super chats tonight. One initially starting off from Eli McGinnis for $9.99, and another one from Faze Will for $19.99. $19.99. Oh, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. Next, I want to go ahead and thank our audience who was with us tonight. That includes Andy W., Brian Pemble. Apparently someone who worked on the next someone who were also working on the Nimitz, Corporal AB or Abe3 11B. CPL stands for Kriti Banas, J-Cat, Kathy, Kelly Brotnos, Piercing Blue Eyes. Jan's been around along with Mr. Catfish 2100, Yerp, Stargazer 46 and 2, the Mac Geek, Trenton, and Two Heads 666. Remember, if you had a good time, 95 likes today with 180 people still watching. Before you leave, go out the door, hit that thumbs up. Would appreciate it. It helps YouTube. Go ahead and share this with more people. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please give us a subscribe, my friend. It shows we're doing the right thing here on Disclosure tonight. And then I want to go ahead then and... I want to blow everyone's ears out. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Especially I want to thank our friends in the back. Andy, thanks for coming out, my friend.
Cheers, Thomas. Yeah, really good show, and thanks for you and Mike. And it's good to have you back, mate.
Good to have you here as well, my friend. Brian, thanks for coming back tonight.
Hey, absolutely, and thank you, Thomas and Mike, for the work you guys have done recently.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Laura, we didn't even get to talk about your stuff tonight. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. This was more important.
Will you be around tomorrow?
What you've been, yeah, I'll definitely touch on it. A little more optimistic news for Disclosure, where this interview is coming. It's absolutely fascinating, but I know your story's been hitting the news, and it's great to see that you covered this. And let's all buy Matt Laszlo some coffee so he can stay up all night and chase those politicians around for the next couple of weeks.
There you go, my friend. Thanks again for coming out. Let's say, Faiswell, thanks for coming out tonight, my friend.
Yes, sir. Good show, guys. Awesome show. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rick Roberts, thanks for the questions.
You're welcome. I just want to say, remember, go out and vote.
Go out and vote. That's right. Vote, vote, vote. Get out there and vote. And if you need to take your friends, your family out there, grab everybody, get out there and vote. It's the only way we can get a step closer to disclosure. Just vote for the right person. You know what I'm talking about. Shelly, thanks for coming out tonight, my friend.
Well, thank you, Thomas. Glad to see you're back.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you keeping it even, my friend.
No, I appreciate you and Mike, man. The investigative journalism is top notch, man.
Yep.
That was a good one.
Tia Loreno, thank you for coming out, my dear lady.
Always great show, Tom.
Thank you very much. And then that takes us back to Mike. Thanks for coming out tonight, Mike.
Oh, it was a hell of a show tonight. We had a lot of content to cover for everybody, for the audience. And it was a fun conversation. And I think we have a special show for everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. I'll come back now here. Take care. Bye-bye.